This video, it will be the last 30 minutes of Sean House's presentation. He worked at Skywalker Ranch and Lucasfilm. He's an expert, a professional, and when Wonderfest makes out their list of activities and presentations, it's usually not until 2 weeks or so before Wonderfest because they're still finalizing things. So I write down all the presentations and stuff that I want to do, and I make out an itinerary for myself. And I can't see everything, but fortunately they do have them staggered somewhat. So I left one presentation waiting around for the next one that I want to go to, and Sean's was going on. So I thought, I'm going to go in there and see his as much as I can. It was so fascinating. Within just the first minute or two, I started to record it. And one thing that keeps coming up in this hobby of design and model making, etc., is AI. And he talks about it here at the end. And he's an expert. You know, I tend to trust experts, especially if there's a consensus between experts. So I think it's valuable and it's fascinating. I think it's a great presentation, even though it's cut off at the end. You know, can't be two places at once yet. So enjoy this presentation, and this AI theme will come up again. Nobody knows for sure, and Sean admits that, but he gives an informed opinion. And I mean, it's like one of my favorite sayings that I say all the time is, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And that's what it's going to be with AI and so many other things. So I'm sure sometimes it seems like the worst of times more than other times. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next video.
I know it. And then they kept D building, but they rented that out, and then they also kept part of C building, but they rented that out, except for when we were doing models for things such as Terminator, Salvation, and things like that. Now, when Kerner crashed and burned, that was in September 1st, 2011. And I'm sorry, and the time frame was 2004 to 2006. ILM was moving down to the Presidio, the computer graphics division. But again, the model shop and practical effects never left that facility. And then in 2011, when Kerner crashed and burned, the buildings actually were vacant because there was a huge auction of Kerner equipment. And I had to move the model shop down to my shop, the Oklahoma base, and then 3 months later, in December of 2011, move it all back up again. And same thing with the grip gear, the electric gear, lights, theater projectors, everything like that. We actually had to vacate the buildings for 3 months.
So that was like anything like the leftover plastic and stuff. Does that like go from one place to another and then back again?
That's exactly correct.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so I literally recreated Uptown model in the original fabrication area of D building and restocked it all. Because at the end of Kerner, they didn't have too much money, so all the little pieces, the plaster pieces of, you know, like the pipe bends and the little domes and everything like that, we had them hot glued on the front, and that way you can instantly see. And that was also one of the famous Larry Tan stories, where there were, on the top of the bins, there were mirrors. So Larry, who is not as tall as I am, could look up and see if there was anything that he could grab in the bins. And we restocked those built. And so what Adam Savage came to me when he found out and that we were closing 3210, and he said, "You can't lose Uptown Mall. We can't lose this for the Bay Area." And he graciously got a moving truck and a bunch of guys and moved the Plastruct EMS part racks, all the box EMS parts, all the evergreen, and all the models, some of the model benches and everything down to his man cave. He had to get a new storage area to take everything out of his man cave. And then put this stuff in. He likes it because it's a working shop.
Yeah. Where does White Room Artifact stock it in? Yeah.
So White Room Artifact, I was just asked, where does White Room Artifact socket into that? White Room Artifacts is a company that was started by Don and Anna Bees. And as was mentioned earlier, Don started off as the archivist at the Lucas Archives he was the second archivist. And then he and Nelson Hall and Jillian Liebert went out traveling on the road with the costume. 3PO, Darth Vader, and R2, and Grant Imahara would go with them, and they would do that stuff. And it was during that period of time when they did Beneath the Dome, the R2-D2 spin-off movie, that Don started White Room Artifacts. And then so during Kerner years, Don wasn't up at Kerner or down at Kerner too much, and he got a contract with NASA and really built out White Room Artifacts. And they produced some small films. So yeah.
Well, I know that employed some of the eyeliners.
Yeah, yeah. You had Charlie Bailey went up there, Lauren Peterson. Yeah, there was a bunch of all eyeliners, and we just all bounced around. Yeah. Yes, Mom.
What do you see as the future of visual effects?
Ooh, hold on a second. I have to check my time. Okay. That's a really good question, Lauren. You and I were talking about that the other night. I believe that if you were to take the magic 8-ball and shake it, it would come up with answers somewhat murky. The truth of the matter is, AI is here. It's already being used in the film. I know there's backlash to it, but they've already figured out how to do away with the weird fingers and the weird teeth and arms coming out of the side of people. That's all done. That's taken care of. They're using it, and you're not even realizing. So therefore, we're going to be losing, much like when George started transitioning to digital everything, and it wasn't, but it became that. This will become its own self-fulfilling prophecy as well. Where it goes is really, it's a good question because we don't know if AI is ever going to reach that stage of human reasoning and capability. If it is, well then you can feed a thought or an idea into the AI and it'll not only come up with a script, but it will also come up with a movie. Now whether or not the masses take that in and accept that is something to be seen. We don't know. It is a very, very, very real, I say, threat because my life is dependent on it. But you know, there will always be something. We were talking also about the fact that there's some filmmakers that have gone back to using celluloid and film cameras. Batman, Dark Knight. Christopher Nolan has never stopped using film, and he still uses it to this day. So it depends upon how much pushback there is, how quick it evolves. Right now, there's people like the director Boots Riley, who is going back to stop motion, who's also using practical effects on set and using models in post-production. I mean, that's amazing, and it's expensive, and it's not expensive because of us. It's expensive because there's a lot of moving pieces nowadays. When you take a look at the credits, you see the credits. I mean, we just watched what was it? Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. I mean, those credits went on for 14 minutes. That's insane. And when you watch those credits, you have to know that at least 25 to 30% of the people didn't get credited, and it goes on that way. So there's a lot more pieces in play. And actually, I'm going to throw the question back to you. You're a filmmaker. You do practical effects and model making. How are you feeling about the future?
I'm feeling very sanguine about the future.
Okay.
So I think if you have people like Christopher Nolan, Boots Riley, other directors at these various levels, right? Like we're not just talking the top flight, but throughout,
Right.
Who are making conscious decisions to return to something practical and real, just captured by camera, and then composited and possibly seen digitally.
Right.
I think we're AI, I don't think that our lifetimes will ever replace human storytelling because it has no experience in the real world, it has no opinions, it has nothing to tell us of value.
Right.
So until you have, say, artificial general intelligence that goes out and lives, and then has something that wants to transmit emotion, it will be a very hollow experience to watch anything created by AI.
I have to agree. Yeah, it would be really hard. I'm gonna pause off that question. This gentleman in the back.
I don't necessarily have a question, but just as a follow on to him, I'm new to this. Like I just graduated. My whole focus. I'm now retired and chasing my dream from my heroes of the past.
Right.
I don't think, that was always the big question in class. AI is never going to have that piece of that. That's not going to work. Like AI will give you something pretty, but like our experiences, U model making, and my experiences as a machinist mate in the Navy, we understand space, we understand how things work, how they fit it. But everybody's going to come back to the artist because we give it a touch that a computer can't do.
That is true. I completely agree. It's just the thing that I see from inside the industry for the past 27 years is that decisions are made based on this. It's not on the artistry. It's not on anything other than what the return is. When we were working on Fast and Furious 8, I was on the second unit, and if anybody knows about filming, the second unit is really usually a small, compact unit. The second unit didn't like being called second unit. They called themselves the action unit because 90% of the film was shot by second unit. The actors, I'm sorry to break this to you, are not in the car spinning around and jumping off of buildings. They're actually in a green screen in front of a car. Yeah, I know, it's terrible. We traveled the world with a second unit that, I am not exaggerating, we traveled with 472 people.
Oh my God.
That is twice the size of a normal first unit. And for 5.5 months, all over the world, Cuba, Iceland, then Cleveland, then down to Georgia, then back up to New York. And we were traveling, and then we were hiring locals. Lots of them. So, yeah, it was, and I said, so we started off in Iceland at Mivot, and I was the on-set dresser. And they're taking these cars and tearing down 1.5 miles of ice, and they have studs in the tire, and that makes the ice white. And I'm like, okay, where's my plows and everything like that? And there was one pickup truck with a snow plow that once the plow became half full, the truck would just spin its wheels even with the studs in the tire. So I wound up asking for some snow cats with the big 10-foot wide plow blades, big ass tires, something like that. By the time we got out of Mivot, I had 3 snow cats on set, and nobody ever asked me about budget. And I said, how are they spending this money like this? And they said, because this movie franchise is a pure money-making machine. Fast and the Furious 7 made $3.2 billion worldwide on a $290 million budget. And the decisions were made that way. And that's spread out through the entire industry. I think I have to give up my time now. We have to prepare for the next speaker. But thank you.